All right. It says we're live here. Hopefully these microphones work.
Okay, you guys, you have to let us know in the chat if you could hear us or not, because we've never done something like this before on YouTube Live. And I mean, we're a minute late because we're trying to figure out the tech side. Live is always stressful because you never know if it works or not real time.
Yeah, or if the kids are going to come in, or if the dog's going to freak out outside the door. Sound okay. Okay. So we'll take okay. Thank you. Yay. Great. We hear you. Woo. Thank you for the comments, guys. Thank you for the affirmation.
Awesome.
This is great. Hey, thanks for putting in these questions too preemptively. I wasn't aware of the fact that you could start posting questions before we go live. So we're going to start answering some of these questions. Wow, I don't know. I've got like sweaty palms. That's how nervous I am I haven't been this nervous since going skydiving with you, I think, Katie, babe.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you going to ask the first question here?
You to marry me. Okay, so let's go to there was a question in here on. Now, let me look. I'm gonna look at the questions right now.
Well,
okay. Here's one.
Go for it.
How do you find so much time for reading if you're always working 5 to 9? Yeah. And that's a great question. So, I mean, obviously, we aren't always working 5 to 9. I do think that something that we take really seriously is a break on the weekend. And so Saturdays, like the last 2 weeks, I read excessively on Saturdays. Usually, we both read during nap times. So we'll read for like a couple hours on a Saturday, or maybe a couple hours on Sunday. I'll get in, and then, like 30 minutes before bed, stuff like that. Sometimes, though, I'll get in bed at 8 and read till 10. So, I feel like those are some good chunks of time there.
Yeah, same goes for me. I fell in love with getting like short batches of reading in. I think since when we got married, prior to getting married, I thought I had to have a very big chunk of time so that I could really get ensconced in a book and really, feel like I'm wrapping my head around the narrative in real time. But once we got married and I was just laying in bed with you, I was happy to read for like 8 minutes, to get like a paragraph and a half through of Count of Monte Cristo or whatever it was. And I've continued that until now. And so while on the weekend I'm able to get those bigger chunks, which are really nice, it is like anywhere from 15 minutes sometimes on the lower end before I fall asleep in bed. And sometimes, depending on how tired or not tired I am, it'll go for 45 minutes, maybe an hour. But so it's really those. It's when we are in bed. And then also we say we work from 5 to 9. We're up at 5 every day, but I still like to read first thing in the morning. And so from 5 to 6, I'm reading the Bible and usually another book. This week's been a rare exception where I've had to work from 5 on just because of some silly things that I wasn't prepared for. Not silly things. I was being silly and wasn't prepared for some things.
Our dryer broke.
Yeah. That was, I mean, I wasn't prepared for that.
Not that it like affected you a ton, but you did have to go buy us a new one. It's supposed to be delivered today. It's been 8 days since we've been without a dryer.
Well, and the reason for it being 8 days, and I'm not getting up early to dry clothes. That's not why I'm waking up at 5. And that actually hasn't contributed that much to my workload at all.
Sorry.
So
really perched on my chair here.
I don't know if the mics extendo out this far.
Okay.
I
don't know. I feel like you're sitting back here.
No, I got behind in judging the VMA first ever competition. And so that started last week and we had 243 submissions, which is incredible. Thrilled to have that level of participation, but we need to post the results tomorrow. And I hadn't started judging, through the weekend. We had Katie's family, and then I realized, like, man, there is lots of hours of judging to go through right now. And so that's what had me up early this week. So I didn't get my morning reading in this week is what I'm saying.
Okay. I think this is funny. You guys said the boys' toys breaking the dryer. And yeah, actually it was so funny because we literally posted that song and like 2 days later our dryer broke. So it's probably all the BBs that were in the dryer but it's hung in there for like 5 years. Anyways, so yeah. Oh, Nikki, that's fun. You never tune into lives till now. This is really fun for us, you guys, to be able to see you. We've been feeling like there's this wall of connection, and that makes sense because it's probably like tens of thousands of miles of distance, actually.
Yeah.
But we thought that this would be a fun way to like connect with you guys and hear from you. So
yeah, because it's been a while since I've done a growth initiative call, and I loved being able to really hear from the men what's going on in the family's lives, right? The real life things, and get to hear it from people in person. And I feel like you always have a little bit of that high when you get off the Get It All Done Club calls,
Yeah.
because you get to hear from the ladies in real time. And so we just wanted more of that. We were craving that. There was a question here that I missed it, but it's how can you motivate your husband, basically, along it was along those lines. And I tell you what, nothing motivates me like a vision. And I think Katie's gotten so accustomed to knowing that if I'm gravitating towards sports media, or if I'm not jumping out of bed when the alarm goes off, she's not stressed about it. She knows that like vision will bring that back, right? Vision will bring back that energy. And there are ways that, and we go over this in the growth initiative a lot, you know, as leaders of the home, vision is imperative, right? It's not optional, because you have to have something on the horizon that you're leading your family towards. And when you find yourself just going through the motions and not really having any vision for tomorrow or for 3 years or 30 years, or whatever the time frame is, motivation is really hard to find. And you find yourself just playing basically reactionary defense. And so you're just putting out fires as they arise, Lord willing, but you're not doing anything proactive. You're not actually looking ahead and saying, that fires me up. If in 3 years we were able to be in this position, if in 5 years we were able to be living there, or if my income actually grew, shortly, small, in small chunks over the next few years, we could have this much saved. Uh, Putting those things on paper and actually really considering what a vision is that it inspires you, is critical. And I think that Katie and I love brainstorming those things together. But that is something that I don't know. Without vision, it's really hard for men to have that get up and go, and that drive to go lead their family.
Yeah, I think when I was looking specifically at the question too, it was speaking to like procrastination,
Hmm.
and how do you encourage a husband where there's like all these projects that need to be done around the house. He's kind of the one to do them. He's like, I'll get to it, but then, weeks go by and he's not getting to it and you don't want to nag him. What would your encouragement be there?
Yeah, I mean, over it is, and I've been that guy where it's like there's 17 unfinished projects, and you're kind of like, well, I'm just not going to do any of them. And I do think rest can be a powerful tool. Going back to that weekly 24-hour rest that we try to take. Oftentimes, by the time I get to that, I have no desire for like anything, right? I'm just kind of like, what are we even doing? Like, let's sell our house in the country, move back to an apartment. There was less projects, yard projects when we were living in an apartment. And then rest not only gives you a heart of gratitude for what you do have, because when you are forced to rest, I feel like the Lord gives us that, for so many reasons. But one thing that induces in us is gratefulness. You're able to look retrospectively and say, "Oh, the Lord was so kind to us this past week. Look at all the things that He provided for us." It's really humbling. And then you get to rest in that and know that He, if He gives you another day, He's going to provide for you in that day, that you for in a way that you need, right? Like He'll provide all your needs that next day. And that really is something that happens every one of those rest periods for me, is it gives me rest. And then I'm able to go jump into those projects. So I don't know, vision, physical depletion can be a real thing, right? If you're in a season of sleep deprivation and low energy and just not good health. I changed my diet, about
Yeah, you've been
three
hardcore about
three
that.
weeks ago, and I was miserable for like 4 days. Literally, I think I was like detoxing. And
What did you do? They're going to want to know what you did.
oh, sure. I mean, it's really not that complicated. I just stopped gluten, and then I stopped eating any processed foods. So, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, like
it's
so
pretty
in
hardcore.
town and stuff, and no more packaged. I used to be a big chips guy, and so that used to be like my hankering. Like if I was
Mhm.
hungry, I'd go for chips. Um, and anyways, that really has given me a lot more energy. So yeah, diet, sleep, all those things contribute, I think, to lethargy and um, just lack of get up and go.
Okay, could I add a couple things to
Sure.
this that I think are helpful? One, uh, if you kind of separate out certain tasks, they don't have to be just men's tasks. Like if you want the picture hung and your husband's not hanging it, then just hang the picture. That could also happen.
Katie hung way more of these
Well, don't look
photos
now; they're
behind
crooked. No,
yeah.
our
I
goal.
hung the crooked ones
No,
probably.
you did. Our goal is to make it to the top of the ceiling, but it's kind of growing. Okay. So it's a little strange here in the back. It looks like we're in some kind of like upside down house, Mary Poppins or something. So there's that. So don't be afraid to do it yourself if it's not getting done, you really want it done. The other thing is sometimes when you pick a certain day and be like, hey, you know, once 3 weeks from now, could we get together and just do house projects and bust them all out instead of like having this constant list? I think that's also super helpful. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? I think those are primary things. It's like do it yourself or just come up with maybe schedule a time when you can just do everything all one time.
Yeah. And then again, I'm just speaking. I think this was a wife asking this question in regards to her husband procrastinating. Um, I'm not saying every man's the same, but I am fueled by praise, right? I'm a words of affirmation guy. And so when Katie goes out of her way to thank me for what some might consider to be just a basic expectation, right? Like, thank you for providing for our family. Thank you for whatever, putting the toilet seat down. Like, thank you
You take
for
out the trash.
taking
I
out the
mean, you do
trash.
so many things.
Exactly. You say that. Oh, thanks for
Yeah.
taking care of Gentry. That's our
Mhm.
dog. That fuels me, right? And that doesn't make me become apathetic and lazy and think, oh, you're right, I'm doing a great job. I think I'm just going to kick back. It motivates me to look to go, the extra mile, so to speak, or to look for something else
Oh, that was
to
the
do.
third thing I was
Yeah.
gonna say, was actually it really helps to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Elisha never makes a stink about me and what I'm procrastinating or not procrastinating, and that's very convicting because he could totally do that when it comes to the laundry or when it comes to certain cleanliness things, or I mean, there are dozens and dozens of things that he just, like, lets me get around to it when I get around to it. I'm so grateful for that. So, anytime I think, husbands are very long-suffering often, and so that's something to just like that helps put you in a different perspective. If you're like, oh, I really wish I did this, it's like, am I moving every single one of his needs to the top of my to-do list, and the moment he mentions it, I'm doing it, because you do that a lot for me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Here's another question. Also, yeah, I mean, there's way more than we were expecting. We were hoping somebody asked any question for us. So just so you know, we're not going to be able to get to all these questions.
I'm
Somebody
fighting
asked
over the computer because this one's so far away I can't see what you guys are writing.
Yeah, well, I'll ask this one, then I'll give you the computer back. This person asked, did you both grow up? Jonah's mom 12 is this person. At Jonah's mom 12 asked, did you both grow up watching TV in your home? What was it like getting married and being exposed as an adult to full internet access, phone access, celebrity media? How did you navigate everything?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, we've been talking about this a lot because neither one of us grew up with a TV in our homes, and our parents, that was radical when we were growing up. Anytime we would have company, they'd come in and say, "Whoa, where's your television?" And there was a time where we had a TV, but it was kept in the closet, and we just had a VHS player and the TV, and we would have family movie nights, right?
Did you guys have cable though? Did you have like actual TV?
Yeah, we never had cable, right? We never
Yeah.
had ever, my entire childhood. And I'm so grateful that my parents were radical in that way, and they had so much clarity and conviction around that subject, and I was the beneficiary of their stance. And it was the same went for Katie, right? You guys
Mhm,
never once
mhm.
had television. And so when Katie and I got married, we both agreed that we were never going to have a television in our home. We're like, that was so good. We don't want our kids growing up in front of a TV. And yet we weren't aware of what had really actually transpired over the previous 10 years, right? Where it was so radical for our parents to not own a television and not, expose us to whatever, MTV or whatever was, whatever sitcoms were people were exposed to at a young age. But we realized, like, whoa, the internet is TV on like times infinity.
Steroids, yeah.
It's like you can't even compare the two. And here we were, both with smartphones, with laptop computers, and while we would, my parents, we would never, as young children, be exposed to anything around celebrity, anything, right? Celebrity gossip, celebrity shows, and then here we are at home, and it's like I can access whatever NBA star, whoever he's dating, right? You're kind of like, oh, so and so is dating this person. It's like, why do I know that? That would never ever be known in my home growing up. And you're kind of like, well, ESPN.com, and you follow them on Instagram, and you're like, this is wild. And I think you had the same epiphany,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Elisha's being gracious. He knows my like media's Achilles heel was The Bachelor and The Bachelorette for a period of time. Like I found them. I had like clips on YouTube right when we were newly engaged, actually.
Well,
And we were fighting all the time. So I was like finding fulfillment through someone else's relationship. And I didn't realize, first of all, that these shows existed. And then second of all, how they'd hook you in with like, I just watch a couple clips and I'm like, I wonder who he ends up with, you know? And then the season ends and I was like, okay, well, you know, and the whole like joke about watching clips because I wasn't watching the full TV show, you know, made me feel better, which is pathetic. And then I would they would choose one of the gals, you know, from the previous season to be the Bachelorette. So then I'm like, well, I'm invested in her. And of course, they know what they're doing. And then all of a sudden, I just feel so mortified that I'm involved in this, you know, totally trashy show. So that did take me off guard, I guess, because it's like I would never pick up People magazine. But here I was totally following celebrities and their, you know, broken lives. So, anyways, that was actually a big reason why I chose to get rid of my smartphone too.
yeah.
In the end there was because I was like, I'm just so knowledgeable about all this stuff I don't even want to be knowledgeable about because it's like on my explore page or it's getting shown to me because other people are liking it or stuff like that. And it was like the slippery slope.
Yeah. And same goes for me. It's, it just blew our mind that we were never going to be the TV in the home family.
Mhm.
And then we've got like a 3-year-old and we're propping up like, you know, an iPhone up against like a vase for them while they're sitting down in their to eat, so that we can get some other things done really quick. And we're like, whoa, it really shed a new light on that whole topic. And we're not really I don't know if we're answering your question directly. I don't think there was ever a moment that I feel that I don't think for either of us where it's like, oh, we went from being completely cut off from the outside, you know, world to now we've got full access and
Yeah, I know.
exposure. It was gradual for me.
Me
Excuse me.
too.
In the sense that, you know, growing up, no TV, we eventually got a computer, you know, when I was maybe like 10 or 11. We got internet, and it's like my older brother had a MySpace account, and they used that chat, the
MSN?
MSN chat a lot. And so I'd look over his shoulder, and then you know, I got a laptop, I think, when I was living at home at like 18, then we got Wi-Fi. And so it was a gradual thing, right? As we were doing
Yeah.
online college, I never felt like I went from zero to, you know, full access. And I mean, I think that was pretty, I would recommend that, I guess,
Yeah, we
you know,
kind of
with
want
our
to do that
boys.
with our kids,
Yeah.
I think, is have this kind of like on ramp towards using technology, knowing that often you have to figure out how to balance on the bike, you know? So it's not like I'm expecting our kids to just handle it perfectly. We're still navigating it. And I also think like once you learn how to navigate technology, it changes. And then you have to like I felt really great, for instance, on social media up until Reels came about. And then I started being like, what am I consuming? You know,
Hmm.
and so it's like it has iterations. And so just because we're managing one part well or successfully doesn't mean that we won't have to iterate when technology iterates.
Yeah, and that's something I know we'll move on from this to the next question. But we don't. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that last part where it's like Instagram we felt fine with until we didn't, and then you
Yeah.
move away. And I think that's kind of how you have to navigate a lot of technology is it might be working for you and for
Mhm.
your family, and then it's not. And I think you should have the discernment, the wherewithal, to adjust when something's not working. Or if it's not, I say not working, like it's just harmless. It could be very negative. You're like, this is
Mhm.
having a very negative impact on our family, and we didn't want to be bound by those things, right? We maybe you hear this, you know, I know we hear it as people say like, oh, I hate being on my phone, I hate having my phone, but I need it, right? And it's like we started hearing ourselves saying that, and we're like, really? Like I don't like that I just said that. Let's test that out a little bit. And so with anything that you sense is really having a negative impact on your family, your home, your culture, to really ask, well, can we do without this? You know, it might have been good for a while, but now it's not.
Yeah, we also help our kids know what a healthy life is. And so then they're able to adjust based on that foundation versus never knowing life without constantly being overwhelmed by tech. So
Yes.
that's kind of our goal. Okay, someone says, wow, lots of questions, which are awesome in here. Um, someone saying, okay, so you enjoy beautiful books. Do you have beautiful Bibles? And we do have one.
Yes.
It's
And
currently not displayed. When you get a display,
this is a
go ahead.
sad story, or I mean, there was because we actually had one that was Katie bought me the most beautiful epic Bible 2 years ago for my birthday, I
You can't
believe.
really share what happened to it, right?
Yeah, no, but what was unfortunate
We
is
haven't
that
talked about this.
yeah, I read it, but it got destroyed, and we were devastated. Like, we were so devastated because this was like what, like a $500 Bible,
Yeah, like $400.
$400
It was
Bible.
for your birthday, I saw
Yeah,
you.
it
Yeah.
was beautiful. And I was devastated. We were all devastated. And then recently, I'd say, well, yeah, my last birthday, it was like a month ago, you didn't buy a new one, right? Which I'm glad, because you were able to find a very discounted, version.
Mhm.
But the same, I guess, publisher it was an Easton Press, and
Like Rembrandt edition, so it has all Rembrandt's art through it,
yes,
and it's beautiful. So we have a replacement, which
yes.
is nice. A year later.
And then we do, as far as like the more, I guess, practical Bibles, they're all brown leather in our home, and we like that. Because yeah, I again, we like having access to God's word in any form, but I also like a more formal feeling when I'm holding God's word, because it's God's word, and so I like that our Bibles do make me sit up straight a little bit more, just the actual physical, the way that they are presented.
Yeah, we do. We don't want our Bibles to be the shabbiest books in the house, although we do want to wear them till they're shabby. Read them through till they're the most well used in our home. But we do want to start out with a beautiful thing. Anyways, someone asked about Halloween and have our thoughts changed on Halloween? Have they not? Have we done a podcast on Halloween? We've done 2 podcasts on Halloween. We won't be doing one this year. I think we did one in 2024 and 2023, maybe. And frankly, there just wasn't anything new to talk about. But I mean, I haven't gone back and listened to those either. I'm sure there are
Sure.
some things that we're more knowledgeable on now than we weren't. I think we're probably poking at some boogeymen in some of those episodes. But I do stand by the fact that it's just not a holiday that at this point we feel called to be a part of in any way.
Oh, wow. Holy smokes. You're getting softened up on this whole thing. We haven't not called to be a part of. I feel called to refrain with everything in me. Holy smokes.
Okay. No, so I would say this. I think in last year's episode, I had just stumbled upon like All Hallows Eve and All Saints Day and all that, and was totally unknowledgeable about those holidays, and like just threw a stick at the wall and was like, oh yeah, hey, also there's these things over here, but we didn't really know anything about them. So I would say in that instance, like in terms of different holidays being celebrated on the same day, I think there is credibility there or whatnot. But we personally don't celebrate anything on those days.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. I'm looking here. There's like, I don't know. I think I saw like 9 different people asking about baptism or belief on baptism. Are we Presbyterian or Reformed Baptist?
They're like,
have
we got
changed?
you on the live.
Yeah.
Come tell us, where are you guys?
And I mean, just like some history, maybe all of you guys have heard this around baptism. I was brought up in a home that my dad, I think, had various, like, I don't know, he had iterations of beliefs around baptism. So I was baptized at the church we were going to when I was 10, I believe. And for a long time, some of my siblings were not baptized. My parents didn't. I don't want to speak for them, but there just wasn't an emphasis on it in my home. And we went to non-denominational churches my entire life. We were a part of different homeschool organizations, ATI. We were heavily involved. Vision Forum was another big group that we were a part of. The Christian Heritage Foundation, which is still going, and is great resources
What's
there.
that other one that's pretty big? They send out lots of missionaries and
like Shield of Faith.
Shield of Faith.
We are a big part of Shield of Faith. And again, some of you people might be aware of these, or you might not. Like, some of them are small. They're kind of niche, in the conservative homeschool space. And even though these weren't like confessional groups, right? It's not like you had to adhere to a certain theology to be a part of these things. There were commonalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that naturally was informed the theology of our home. And then we've been married, and that's just kind of what I brought into our marriage, was kind of no thoughts around baptism at all. And then we went to a home church early on in marriage, and again, I don't even know what the church believed around baptism. I know a few people were randomly baptized, but it all felt, I don't want to say willy-nilly, but that's what it seemed like. It's like there was like, what are we doing? I just don't know. And this is, I'm not proud of this. This is a shame, right? This is a huge thing that I think people should look into and consider. And then from the home church place, the home church that we went to, we or did that turn off? Do you think that?
That just silenced our
Oh,
audio,
got it.
right?
Good.
Let us know if you guys can't hear us, but hopefully I just silenced our text there.
That's when really kind of ultimately came to our current church, which again is non-denominational, but really it's more reformed than anything, right? And it's not a confessional church. It's not a part of a denomination. But
our pastor's Calvinist. I
yeah, our
think
pastor's
that's what
Calvinist. I
makes
think
it
that
feel reformed.
there's a lot of all-millennial people there. There's a lot of post-millennial people there. And so and they are now, they're Baptist in their theology around baptism, right? So that credo,
Believers
yeah, believers
baptism.
baptism. That's just where our church stands. And so even when we want our children to get baptized, there does need to be a profession, right? A confession. They kind of go through this series of questions, and then that's, we've got a lot of friends that are Presbyterian, and there's the CREC church here in town that we've been to a handful of times. We went there when our friend's baby was being baptized, and I guess the more covenantal view of baptism, it's like, well, man, that is something to think about, right? And this is all like, it's surprisingly new terrain, I guess, for us in our marriage, where
to put this in total perspective, how little of a deal this was when we got married is Elisha married me totally unbaptized.
Yeah, you were not baptized.
So yeah, like he was baptized, I was not. That wasn't even a discussion we had pre-marriage. Was like, well, do you want to be baptized? Is that important to you? Like, it was just like, great, you're a Christian. We valued each other's faith, but that wasn't a conversation. And then I didn't get baptized until we started coming to this church, and I think I just had our fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, we'd been looking into baptism, and I felt a strong conviction to be baptized at that point. And so I did, but it was like, a couple years before our son got baptized. So anyways, it's just kind of like, this is a new thing that we're learning and discovering. And I mean, I really like pedo baptism really appeals to me. And I would love if all our children were baptized. I can't speak like, we haven't like completely been like, oh, if our church baptized babies, we would have all our children baptized. But I do think we see our children as part of the body, and we probably would.
Yeah, that's currently
baptized all of our children if that's what our church did.
Yeah, we don't have, again, a robust theology around this, and it's something I've got a whole list of things that I feel convicted in my lack of leadership around, baptism being one of them, communion. What I could go on and on and on of being like, man, as the leader of my home, I need to, I don't want to be double-minded, or tossed to and fro with these with different people's arguments. I need to come to a conviction around these things. And so baptism is one of them. Yeah, we do view our children as a part of the church, and like they're born into a Christian home. We treat them like Christians. And it's like they, as the earliest that they can act like they're praying, right? Like you have kids that can't say words and they're bowing their heads and folding their hands, and sometimes the first words they utter are amen after a prayer. And so as far as their hearts, like that's, like the evidence that we have, we're like, man, these hearts seem very genuine as soon as you're able to start seeing fruits from their heart.
Yeah, I feel like right now, actually, we're really going down a rabbit trail with sacramental theology in general. Like this is something that we're both reading a lot on, reading God's word on, seeking people's advice on. And so anyways, I think it is difficult to pin us down into a box right now because we are trying to find the box. If that makes sense. You're like, are you Presbyterian, Reformed? Like, we currently go to a non-denominational church. So that's like all we can share. I don't think our views are non-denominational, actually, but they don't like perfectly line up with anything right now.
Right.
And that's something that I think we both felt convicted on and would like to
we're
be more clear on.
Yeah, there's been times where I was really proud of the fact that I couldn't be put in a box. I'm not proud of that anymore, but I don't want to just kind of like jump in a box because my friends are over there, or because it's kind of like the most popular one this month. And so, yeah, the more I'm confident to be able to say, hey, this is what we believe on this topic, I like that, right? But we're just not there on a lot of topics.
Yeah. So anyways. maybe one day we'll put everyone's curiosity to rest. Lord willing, honestly. But right now, yeah.
Okay, here we go. Will you please write a book, Katie? Oh, of course, she needs this.
Aww.
I feel like Katie has countless books in her that
Well,
that
you
need to
do
get
too.
there.
That has been a heart's desire of ours recently. Well, actually, for a really long time, like since I was 7, for Elisha for a long time too. So we'll see what the Lord has in store with that.
Um, how? What do you do to help? Um, okay,
It's like
this is
speed
sorry.
read.
No, yeah. How do you handle criticism for stances you've chosen to make for your family, things against social norms?
That's a good question.
Yeah. We're really fortunate in that both sides of our families are really supportive. I think that would be probably the hardest uh, thing is if we felt like we were doing things that the people we love and care about the most were opposed to it or critical of it. And we've done a handful of things that
I was gonna say we aren't like totally out of that
no, oh yeah, like
category. Like,
but I wouldn't say like big as far as like homeschooling, right? Or choosing to have a lot of children, you staying at home with the kids. I think these are things that
yeah,
come
yeah.
up. If parents have this thought, they send their daughter to college, they spend a lot of money, and she's got this career, and then she chooses to go home. That can be really hard for a lot of parents. We haven't had to deal with that. Um, yeah, homeschooling. Um, I don't know. I'd say even like when we moved, because of the nature of everything, our families were really supportive, right? We weren't moving close to either of our families, and they really, rallied. I feel like that could be a big one. They really rallied behind us. Um, yeah, but then other people, I just think that we want our children to be the exception, meaning we want them to be fruitful Christians, right? Like when you look at what's the norm, both in and
Mhm.
out of Christian homes, which is wild, right? It's like the norm for kids brought up in Christian homes to not walk in the faith when they are adults, right? It's more common than not. And so and then you obviously go to secular homes, and that's even a higher percentage. And so we're like, well, we know we don't want that, right? We know we don't want what the rule is. We want to be an exception to the rule, and so we're going to do things that are exceptional, and hopefully that's positive, right? You don't want to be the exception in a bad way, and that's always the fear, right? When you're doing something that's out of the ordinary, you feel this pressure of, okay, well, everyone's doing this. I'm doing this. Like I've got a target on my back. It's going to be really obvious if our marriage gets worse now that I've, come home, or it's gonna be really obvious if our kids are really struggling now that we pulled them out of that school, because you do have a target on your back. And so,
That's motivating though. I think
I
that
think
can be
so
good
too.
motivation when it's, when it's when you know that your decision is biblically based, then I think any motivation is a good motivation for following through on that decision.
Wow. Well,
As long as
yeah,
it's biblically based and not just seated in ego or pride or any of those things,
yeah, and
obviously.
and I mean, you say biblically based, a lot of times people want like the Bible verse to say exactly like, thou shalt take their kid out of the public school, and you can't find that Bible verse. And it is nice when there are direct verses, to speaking to issues that you're dealing with. But really, a lot of times you have to take the principles from the whole of Scripture, and then also we are given brains as parents, and when you say, okay, I want my children to walk in the faith. And then God's given me this kind of like agency to lead them in a way knowing the circumstances, right? I know the climate we live in, right? I know that I'm parenting in 2025. God put me here to make decisions in this context. And so there's going to be practical things that are different than when our parents raised us, right? Whether that's 30 years ago or however many years ago. And so being confident, going back to, I guess, okay, we're making a decision for the well-being of our children, or we're making a decision for the well-being of our marriage, not like that, checking your heart constantly on those
Mhm.
things, not this is just a little easier, or it was harder when we were doing this, or I feel weird doing it this way, or everybody's pressuring me, to do it this way. You don't want that to be your motive in those big decisions.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so how would you restart or start a daily routine when you feel like you don't have one? For kids 5 and younger, so you've got a lot going on. Feeling like my days are always getting away from me, and my best encouragement to you would be just start tomorrow. Start. As soon as you wake up, just start trying something new. Like, don't wait for the beginning of the week. Don't wait till your supplies come on Amazon. Don't wait for the new year. Just start and then iterate. Because with little kids, your daily routine is going to be changing constantly. And I also think that, do you want?
No, I mean, sure. Yeah, I'll take
I
it.
also
Sure.
think that it's it's if things are not working, just consider, okay, what is the primary thing that is not working? And I know that's a lot easier said than done, but if you could, right now, bibbity bobbity boo something, take it out of your life, what would that thing be? And I would start there. And is that morning? Is that your afternoons? Like, what's the most stressful time of your day? And try something. And if it doesn't work, try having all the kids sit on blankets from 3 to 4 and you read them a book, or try having them all have them help you with dinner, or try talking to your husband about that time if he works from home and coming up with a strategy. So that's what I kind of like to do, is just figure out what's the pain point that I have, the biggest pain point, because there's always going to be a lot of them. And then try something, because you won't know until you try it for like a week or two. And then, or, maybe you'll know after the first day, this was a terrible idea. And then try something else. That would be my encouragement. Instead of trying to come up with a whole daily routine, maybe try like a morning routine or an afternoon routine. And my favorite place to start is always sleep times. So that time in the morning, having children stay in their rooms till a certain time, having them go to bed at a certain time, and having them have a quiet time from 1 to 3 at the exact same time every day. Those are that's my go-to that's my framework in the construction for a day.
Nice.
For me.
Love it. That's good. Hey, Kitty and Elisha would love an episode on ways wives can show more respect to husbands and how husbands can love wives. My husband and I both have a desire to improve, but we need practical ways to do so.
I think that's a great thing I saw someone else say they'd like a podcast episode on that. Maybe we can just do a whole one on that.
A whole episode.
I'd love to write down thoughts and then ask you what your thoughts are on them, rather than just like spitball, because I do think that wives, how we think we reverence our husbands is often so different than how husbands feel respected and reverenced. And I think this is a pretty common trait. And so I think it's really important that if we're going to be communicating this, then, you've
thought it through.
A-okayed all my comments.
I've signed off on it.
You've
signed off.
You're actually, I know you like doing that, but it doesn't make me feel great.
Yeah. Something, again, we can do a whole episode,
you
but
can go
I
ahead.
was just thinking, it's actually not even that practical. So I'm probably not going to, satisfy the question asker. But in seeing young people around us dating, it is always so interesting on how, non-negotiables, like that list kind of gets smaller once you fall in love with someone and you realize you want to get married, right? It's really easy to just be so principally driven, and I obviously this can, there's a negative side of this, right? Some people can throw out all their principles because of getting swept up in love, and they're like, well, I'm not sure if they're a Christian, but they seem to want the right thing, and boy, they're just so attractive, and they get my personality and stuff like that. You're like, no, like there are
the big three.
Yeah, there are some big ones there, but it is so funny how like once you fall in love, you're kind of like, you know what, like the fact that you like that show actually isn't that big of a deal, or the fact that it's funny that you brought up like the theology thing, just kind of like, well, we differ on this, but boy,
I really back up The Bachelor. You don't want to incriminate your wife anymore.
Yeah, well, actually, I wasn't going to bring that up, but that's a perfect example. Like if I were to write a list, I wouldn't have said like, the girl I'm dating and I'm going to marry watches The Bachelor, but you just find yourself, and you compromised way more than I did. Like there were so many things.
I felt guilty about that.
No, compromise meaning like you accepted a lot more. You had, I didn't check as many boxes, I don't think, as far as like things
you check
to do.
Boxes I didn't know
and I
had.
think sometimes in marriage, like you can just be like, that's actually not that you can make. There's so many things that you can choose to make a big deal. That's ultimately what I'm trying to get to here in marriage. And again, I know we've referenced this a handful of times, but Dave and Ann Wilson, we love talking to them, and they've said a few times, like there's like this delusion with some happy marriages where it's a characteristic of somebody that maybe the greater general public sees the spouse is kind of I don't care, like that doesn't bug me at all. And I think at some points there are choices that we can make to be like, I'm just not going to let that bug me, you know. And that doesn't answer the question, but I think that if you take that mindset into how do I love my wife more, how do I, honor my husband more, respect my husband more, then it can be a lot more enjoyable in marriage. That's
Yeah, I mean, if you always assume the best and you're never offended, then it's like,
yeah,
I mean,
just
you aren't going to
assuming.
have any conflict. I'm not saying that that's like, a good route to take all the time. You're going to want to talk about stuff that
Right.
gets on your nerve, but yeah, picking what to bring up and what
Yeah,
not to is
exactly.
important. Okay, so there's a couple kind of like, okay, this is kind of a heavy question. What do you do in a Christian marriage if there's emotional and verbal and financial abuse but no physical abuse, and you've tried Christian counseling, marriage retreats, etc., to no change? So I think scripture's very clear on this actually, which is nice. And that is, correct me if I'm wrong, Elisha, but if someone is walking in sin, then you confront them first. And if they will, if they don't take your word for it, where's this found on biblical discipline?
I think it's in the
Google
Gospels.
verses
Yeah.
on biblical
Well,
discipline.
I think it's like where the two or three or more gathered in my name. Or I don't,
No.
Katie. I don't know. You put me on the spot. It's
Yeah, I know.
embarrassing.
That's okay. So you can Google it. This is, but, and then you're supposed to go take just to back me up because I'm going to say what the Bible says. Okay.
Okay.
So then you go and you take one or two members from the church with you. So you need to go contact elders. This is why it's so important to be involved in a local church. So go get your pastor, your leadership, your priest, your whoever is in charge of you spiritually, and bring them to your husband, and you confront him on his sin. And if that change doesn't happen there, then there's ramifications for that, whether that's separation or whether that's like it could be huge things. But I think that we need to be confident to go bring someone else if there is true sin going on, if there's true abuse going on. I do think as women, we throw around these words very lightly. The things that we say to our husbands, they could very easily say, that's verbal abuse. But like men rarely complain about verbal and emotional abuse. And I think we as women use it a lot. So I'm not saying that it discredits the situation that you're in because it might totally be valid, but it needs to be valid enough that you're confident in bringing other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah. When you said separate too, none of these things are grounds for divorce. We're differentiating between divorce. Yeah.
I'm saying maybe that you just need space from this person, if they're hurting you or, and other people feel like, hey, there is harm in this situation. It's not just a lack of maturity on both sides. And
yeah, again, it's
talk
like
to someone in person that knows your situation.
Yeah, and that's why it's like you kind of have to go up. You have to go back upstream. And when you find yourselves in these situations, you're thinking, okay, well, man, you see why, man, God gave us the church for so many reasons. But spiritual, discipline is a huge factor, right? It's a huge, I guess, aspect of or like it's like a mechanism the church is given for these situations where you're thinking, okay, it's just you and me and it's your buddies, and then there's no structure here, right? We've got no accountability. There's nobody that we're submitted to, that we are going to for counsel here, and you can find yourself in very unfortunate situations, right? When we're out on an island trying to live our own private kind of Christian life. And so, yeah, being a part of a church, having elders that you can go to, having a pastor that you can bring forth. And then, like you said, Katie, babe, that is, that really helps you see things through. And then in physical danger, if you don't have, you've got the law, right? You've got your local law enforcement that are there to protect you physically, right, from harm. And that can be one of the best wake up calls for a man, right? Is like, wow, the cops are called on him because he's putting his wife or his children in danger. What a shame, right? Like that is the most shameful thing that you can go through as a man. And so like, yeah, like that, those are things that are at your disposal,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry you're in that situation. Okay, so Mallory, I think I found your question. It says, okay, because you keep commenting, and I do want to answer your question. There's just so many up here, which is awesome. Let's see. So you said after a 2-year battle with infertility, you're now the proud parents of a 2-year-old son. So congratulations.
Oh.
We'll be homeschooling and would love some practical tips on starting, as we both went to public school. Also would love some parenting books and resources. So I think the best places I can send you are either on Substack. I share a lot about homeschooling. On obviously the homeschool, the first 3 years course, I share a lot about homeschooling. I can give you a couple pointers here real quick too. And then for books, just on the now that we're a family.com, we have a lot of book recommendations. You guys have asked, hey, what books are you currently reading? Are you going to update your list of book recommendations? We've read like 25 or 30 books in the last quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So many books. So it's probably time to do another book update.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And let people know. But I would just encourage you. You've got a lot of time, which is fun. You have a 2-year-old. I'd really focus on getting your home in order, working on your own time management, working on your son's obedience. And Charlotte Mason has a great resource called Laying Down the Rails, which is all about the first seasons of just teaching them little habits, little disciplines. So I'd really encourage start there. And there's so much you will find from that resource. Reading Home Education from Charlotte Mason and Laying Down the Rails is what I would recommend.
Nice. I'm going to do one more, and then we're going to have to wrap this up.
Okay.
Because we've got, you know what we have actually is we got a new dryer being delivered, and I've got to go get that thing installed. Look at that. Yes, you were both.
Thanks for ordering that. Yes. We've been wearing these clothes for 5 days.
People are asking about the barn. Do we love it? 3 things you enjoy about it. Somebody was asking like the details. Yeah, it is a barn, and it looks like a like those old English barns, that gambrel roof line, that gambrel style barn. So the whole upstairs is our living space, and it's very spacious. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I think
it's like 1,800 or 1,900 square feet upstairs.
Yeah, so it feels great, right? Mm-hmm. And then
21-foot ceilings.
Yeah, it's really tall. It's awesome, right? And then the downstairs is all shop, except for we did frame off a corner of the downstairs shop, which is where we're at now, and that's our studio and my office. And so yeah, that's our setup. And somebody was saying 3 things we like about it. Would we do anything differently? Boy, it has been such a gift. I think that we made that crazy decision to sell our house, move into the tent onto the property. And at sometimes, throughout different stages of that, we wondered if we were insane, but it was so fun. Like, we just loved that. It was such a blast being out here on the property. And our builder was really gracious. He I don't know, the whole thing. And it's a retrospect thing, because it was the most stressful thing that I'd ever gone through. Right. In the moment, during the whole process.
It was sweet too, though.
Yeah. And so what would we do differently? It's like, I'd probably keep my head, it's like that whole Rudyard Kipling poem. It's funny because we were memorizing that as a family throughout the process. And I felt like I was failing every day. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, like that happens so many times, or, if you can bear to see the truth you spoke and twisted by knaves to make a trap. There were so many things where through, a whole variety of things where I failed. But so I think I've got regrets in that area. But as far as the finished product, it's like, boy, so grateful. Just what about you?
Yeah, I'm so grateful too. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, of course there's things we go back and do differently, but you learn through it. And I think some stuff you can't learn until you go through it. I do think things that would be helpful are getting your copies of your plans early. That's something that we didn't do for a long time. And so that resulted in some delays because we weren't up on what our plans actually were looking like. So getting your plans early, being really clear on what your contract is, your timeline, all that stuff, like just read all the papers and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be something that I just think would just help stay on track and set your expectations for what's going to happen and all that. If you've never done it before, it's hard to have expectations that are accurate. But anyways, our builder did do an amazing job. We're so grateful to be in here. And we actually trusted a lot of decisions totally to him,
right?
Because we didn't know what decisions we were supposed to make or not. And he made good decisions.
Yeah.
So we're grateful for his expertise.
And I will say a lot of the pain that we experienced was self-induced, in the sense that we put ourselves in a very condensed time frame. And we knew that. Like, we knew that we were signing up. We wanted it quick. We wanted it fast. And, we had just read, I think, like Elon Musk's biography. And like that mantra of like, move fast and break things. And we're like, yeah, let's send it. Like, let's go now. And so we certainly experienced some stress and pain just because of the expedited timeline. when it came to our living situation, finances, all that stuff. And so, but at the same time, I don't think we didn't regret expediting the process either, because we got in, sooner than we would have. And so, yeah, all in all, we're very grateful. We're going to sign out here, but folks, let us know if this is something you would want us to do in the future. We love this. Okay. We love hearing from you.
Your comments, you guys, it's so sweet. We aren't replying to each one of you, but it is so sweet, your encouraging words. So thank you so much for taking the time to write those. And I'm seeing more questions too, where it would be really fun to thank you for posting Matthew. What does it say? Matthew, so far away.
Let me see. Can I read it here?
It's 10, 18, 16. Yes, but Matthew.
I don't know what you're looking at. Yes.
Reference. It's too far away for me.
Oh, the Bible reference. Nice.
Yes. So that was helpful.
You guys are on it. That's what we have, though. Thank you all so much. We will talk to you. I mean, we'll either talk to you on our next podcast episode, or we'll talk to you on our next live. And just so you know, too, we are going to post the audio of this on the audio platforms. And so this will be available. And then I think the video recording will be available too after the fact. The recording will be available. Anyways, I'm going to end this thing. Thank you all.